did part one of Project Looking Glass. And I did that backstory because it all winds up to this. I have an interview I want you guys to take a look at. And it happened like 12 years ago. So the point is, with Project Looking Glass, there was going to be a problem in the year 2012. And with that, everything that the government has been doing, it all came down to one reality. And what's supposed to happen is at the end of 2012, the government could not control the narrative as much anymore. They could not put everything together and be able to make sure things ended the way they wanted it to. And so they finally had to just give up. So guys, I want you to listen to, this is just a small part of the interview. And in the description box, I've got where you can go and listen to the rest of the interview with Bill Wood. But listen to this and think, doesn't reality feel strange now? Doesn't it feel like we're in a different timeline? Because I know that things right now feels to me a lot different than they did growing up. It almost feels like we're not in even the same world. So listen to this and then we'll come back and we'll wrap it all up.
2012 problem with those projects. I guess, popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012. I've heard it described a number of ways, but to my knowledge, the problem is that the timelines converge on that point in time. And when you know enough about the Stargate projects and the Looking Glass project to know that how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean that the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. Mm-hmm. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make. And that's important to the people that had access to Looking Glass because they would use Looking Glass knowing the choices that they would make and the future would pop up. The big mistake was coming up with the possibility of future. And when we started using a computer to say, well, if we make this choice, it's 79% possible that this scenario happens, and 23% are possible, or whatever, you know, I'm using round numbers, that this scenario would happen. The understanding at the time was that was realistic. However, if you go down the road further and free will continues to exercise itself on this game, that 79% possibility sometimes changes very, very fast. But if you look at the situation in a point of time, it seems very realistic that that's the greatest possibility. What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the looking glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision, no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret.
Okay, so is that certain 2012 in your understanding?
It well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
So at that point, all possibilities lead to the same
Timelines.
Rubicon.
All possible timelines lead to the same basic set of history in the future.
And what is that history to you? Did you know that, or did you find that out?
That is the big question. That is the big secret. That is what sends everybody that has all of the information, that knows everything, into a blind panic. The people that know everything about Looking Glass, that have gotten all the reports and all the information, the elites of the world, probably figured out that that was the end of the game, and nothing could be manipulated beyond that point.
So do you think that's held true? In other words, well, I have about 60 questions, but do you think that's true, or holding true, that nothing could be manipulated, that they haven't found a way to manipulate, that's still the case? I mean, this is knowledge that you would have gained back when?
Back when I was in the military, it would have been before '97 when I got in trouble. And it was things that one of my particular areas that I was amazingly intuitive about is problem solving / mission planning, or more specifically, taking a bad mission and fixing it, getting everybody through and out of it.
Troubleshooting an optimum future.
Exactly. Certainly knowing how string theory and possible futures works makes it so you can work your mind very quickly to see the reality of what's happening and decide what decisions need to be made to change it for a particular outcome.
Okay, but at a certain point you said that even the powers that be, so to speak, realized that having even abilities such as yourself, you're talking about, which they, in theory, had even using a computer or a looking glass.
Right, they had to use a computer to do it.
Right, so in essence, but at a certain point, it's still an end game. It's still, they cannot go beyond a certain point.
At a certain point, after they're done hearing the computer tell them, this is what's going to happen, over and over and over and over again, all they become focused on is, how do we fix it?
Why? What is this that's going to happen? Do you know that?
The inevitable contraction of the timelines.
But what does that mean for this reality? Do you know that?
I don't know that. What I do know is that I was called in and asked to solve this problem, this timeline contraction problem. And I eventually did my due diligence and did all the investigating, and basically only had one piece of information, and that was reinforcement. The computer's right. The timelines will contract down to some inevitable thing that you guys won't tell me about, so I can't help you.
But what you're basically, you came back with was, it is inevitable, whatever it is.
There is an inevitable event. It's been forecast, it's been predicted, it's been fed to us in a slop trough of what they want us to believe will happen.
But they don't actually
However,
know.
they don't actually have control over what happens. They only have control over the reaction, and it seems that no matter what they try to do to cause their desired reaction, it's going to have an opposite effect.
Interesting.
Now, it's much, much easier for me to explain today what that process is as opposed to back then. But if I had to give it a name, I would say it's the awakening process. It's an evolution of consciousness that cannot, will not, and no matter what decisions or possibilities are injected into the equation, eventually it all resolves down to us all learning the truth and becoming aware of this massive dam of lies that has been built.
So I do think that this video and this interview has a lot to do with time travel and trying to change the narrative that the government always seems to have. But looking now, looking back, don't things feel different? Don't they look different? And we're going to go into a different things that came out of this Project Looking Glass, and we're going to take a deeper look into them a little bit later. So guys, just tell me what you think. I find this very interesting. So guys, I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. We're going to do a live pretty soon, and I can't wait to talk with you guys. Bye.